Prime Minister Carney says next 48 hours will be crucial to Gaza peace process. What's up, Canada Bulletin crew? So apparently, the next 48 hours are crucial. Not, I forgot to study for my exam crucial, or my phone is at 2% and I forgot my charger crucial. We're talking full-on geopolitical, potentially history-making, world-watching crucial. Prime Minister Mark Carney just dropped that bombshell on Parliament Hill. And folks, we need to talk about what's happening in Gaza right now. I'm your host here at Canada Bulletin, where we break down the headlines that actually matter to Canadians. No fluff, no boring political jargon, just straight facts with a side of personality. Today, we're diving into the Gaza peace process, Canada's role in all of this, and why PM Carney is suddenly sounding like a countdown clock at New Year's Eve. But instead of champagne and confetti, we're hoping for hostages coming home and a ceasefire that actually sticks. Buckle up, because this story has more layers than Canadian winter outfit, and we're peeling them back one by one. All right, let's set the stage. Thursday morning, Parliament Hill, Prime Minister Mark Carney facing reporters before a cabinet meeting, and he drops this gem. The next 48 hours are crucial. Now, when a prime minister uses the word crucial, you know something big is cooking. This isn't about maple syrup tariffs or hockey playoffs. This is about a peace deal in Gaza that could literally end one of the most devastating conflicts of our time. Here's what's happening. Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a U.S.-backed peace plan. Think of it like the first episode of a series. Exciting, full of potential, but we have no idea if this thing's getting renewed for season 2 or canceled after a cliffhanger. Phase 1 involves Hamas releasing 20 living hostages, while Israel pulls troops back to an agreed-upon line. It's a pause, not a full stop. The fighting stops, but the real work? That's just beginning. Carney said Canada is encouraged, which in political speak translates to cautiously optimistic, but not popping the champagne yet. Because let's be real, peace deals in this region have historically had the lifespan of a snowman in July. But here's the thing. This one's got some heavyweight backing. We're talking the United States, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey all throwing their diplomatic weight behind it. That's not nothing. Now, you might be wondering, okay, cool, peace talk are happening, but what does this have to do with Canada? Oh, my sweet summer child. Canada is way more involved in this than you might think. Let me break it down for you. So here's where it gets interesting. Prime Minister Carney literally just got back from the White House on Tuesday. Yes, that White House, where he sat down with President Donald Trump. And according to Carney, they discuss exactly how Canada can support this peace process. Because apparently, when global powers are brokering peace deals, Canada gets a seat at the table. Humble brag? Maybe. But it shows Canada's got some diplomatic muscle to flex. Carney thanked Trump, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey for orchestrating the deal. Basically the diplomatic equivalent of thanking everyone in your Oscars acceptance speech before the music cuts you off. But he also made a point to call out Hamas specifically, urging them to follow through by releasing all hostages, including the deceased. That's not just diplomatic protocol. That's a direct message saying, we're watching you. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand jumped on X, formerly Twitter. But let's be honest, we're still adjusting to that rebrand, calling for immediate and unimpeded humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. Because while the political chess game is happening, there are real people on the ground who need food, water, and medicine like yesterday. Here's the kicker, though. Global Affairs Canada officials told the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee on Wednesday that it's too soon to say whether Canada will be part of an armed mission to secure the ceasefire. Translation? Canada might be sending troops. Or not. They're keeping their options open like someone on a dating app who hasn't decided if they're ready for commitment. But let's talk about what Canada is doing right now. Because, spoiler alert, it's actually pretty significant. Canada isn't just sitting on the sidelines eating poutine and watching this unfold. According to Tara Carney, Acting Director of Humanitarian Issues, which sounds like the most stressful job title ever, Canada has millions of dollars worth of humanitarian aid prepositioned and ready to roll into Gaza. We're talking food, water, medicine, the essentials. It's literally sitting at border crossings right now, waiting for clearances like packages stuck in customs. Except infinitely more critical, the aid is set to be deployed through the United Nations, the Red Cross, and other charities. So Canada's not just throwing money at the problem and walking away. They're working through established humanitarian channels to make sure help actually reaches the people who need it most. Now here's where Canada's playing it smart and learning from recent history. Remember Haiti? Canada helped facilitate a mission to deal with heavily armed gangs, but without putting boots on the ground. Instead, they assessed what local security services needed, helped coordinate equipment from supporting nations, and even deployed surveillance planes. It's like being the ultimate support player in a video game. You're not the main character, but the team would fall apart without you. Stephanie McCullum from Global Affairs Canada's Middle East Bureau told senators that talks are happening about setting up an international stabilization force and an apolitical transitional government led by Palestinian technocrats. That's fancy talk for, we need to figure out who's going to keep the peace and run things when the dust settles. And Canada is in active discussions about how to support these initiatives. But let's zoom out for a second and talk about why this moment matters, not just for the Middle East, but for Canada and the world. Here's the thing about peace processes. They're fragile. Like really fragile. We're talking Jenga tower built by a toddler during an earthquake, fragile. The details of the medium and long-term plan are still being hashed out, which means phase one is just the opening act. The real test comes in the weeks and months ahead. Carney emphasized that this is the first phase and there's more to come. That's important because historically, these pauses can either lead to lasting peace or collapse faster than a house of cards. The next 48 hours are crucial because they set the tone for everything that follows. If Hamas releases the hostages as promised, if Israel pulls back troops as agreed, if both sides show they can actually follow through on commitments, that builds trust. And trust is the currency of peace negotiations. Canada's position here is interesting because we're not a major military power like the U.S., but we do have credibility as a nation that supports peacekeeping and humanitarian efforts. When Canada says we're here to help, it doesn't come with the same baggage as, say, a superpower with vested interest in the region. That neutrality, that genuine desire to help civilians and support peace. That's Canada's secret weapon in diplomacy. And let's be honest, Canada wants this to work. We've got a significant Palestinian community and a significant Jewish community, both of whom have been watching this conflict with broken hearts. A lasting peace in Gaza means families reunited, lives saved, and maybe, just maybe, a future where kids can grow up without the constant threat of violence. So, where do we go from here? What happens in these crucial 48 hours? And what should Canadians be